What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Haze Demon Show. And today we are gonna be going over the cards in the game that I think need to have a buff. These are going to be the worst cards in South Park Phone Destroyer. You know what I'm saying? Now, some of these cards are okay, and they can be used at any rank in the game, and they'll make you win. And especially if you've got higher level cards to go along with that weak card, you can make it work, right? Red Links has done a really good job lately of buffing up some of the cards that I actually wanted to put on this list, and I've been wanting to do this for a little while. So luckily I waited till the right time, because they've been doing buffs all over the place, and my video would just be kind of like, well, that already happened, buddy. Well, that already happened too, buddy. So that lowers the amount of cards we have to do. I was gonna do a top 10 worst cards that need buffs, but honestly, there's a lot of cards that need at least some love to make them viable at more ranks, particularly the higher ranks, right? So let's go ahead and do this madness. We're gonna go in order of neutral, adventure, sci-fi, mystical, fantasy. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm gonna do. So for our first card, it's gonna be Nelly. Nelly, I think Nelly is a really good card. She used to be, and a really good card is in really good for being one of the worst cards in the game. I think she's used to be even way better than she was back whenever swarms and assassin spam was really high. She was my first level 5 rare card that I ever had, and she is only like 70 copies away from level 6, but she doesn't feel very good. So what do I think that what is the problem with her right now? She just doesn't do enough damage. She does AoE, you know, and she doesn't really have a lot of health. Units will kind of chew her down really quickly. So what do I think that could make her better? I know we have a lot of these cards in the game already, but a particular thing that could make her more beneficial is giving her a slow ability. So every time it hits units, she slows them down. Not like an aura, but like a constantly hitting. I think maybe she could have a little boost of health and attack, but I'd say she needs a big boost in health to be able to use that low attack advantage, because she has a low attack for a reason. She's hitting multiple units at one time. And like maybe what she could do is instead of doing a slow ability, she could have more health, and then she could stack something onto people. I don't know what to call it. Stack shovels on people, right? Or whatever. So basically, every time she hits them, it puts a stack onto them. Whatever you want to call it. A shovel stack, right? And so after 3 or 5 times of hitting the same unit, or all these units at one time, they get stacks on them, which amplify the damage that she does to them, or that other units can do to them. So she can amplify other people's damage potentially, right? So she hits them 3 times, now they're doing 1.2 times damage. How about that? Let's say you hit them 3 times and it does, now her shovels are doing twice as much damage as they were doing before. So this isn't a stack onto herself, it's a stack onto whoever she's hitting. So every unit gets a fresh start to how much more damage she can amplify onto them. So like, I'm going to be coming up with a lot of weird things that maybe aren't in the game at all, you know, but just ideas of how to boost and make these cards better, right? So that's our first one. Pretty much, you know, like I said, a lot more health would definitely make the big difference if we're just talking about regular things, but like a special thing would be adding stacks to do more damage, or slow, you know. We'll talk about like the basic way we can make them better, and then like an advanced way of making them a better card. So the next card we have here is Mr. Mackey, a 4-cost card that boosts the attack of friendly kids nearby. Okay, so what I think, he's fine with his attack and health, I think, right? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he's fine with that stuff. Again, maybe just a boost to health. I'm not sure. But what I do think is, instead of having an aura of raising their attack, he should be like Bradley, Elven King Bradley. He should be exactly like Elven King Bradley, where we can place him in the corner of the screen or wherever, and he boosts up every kid on the field, no matter how far they are away. Because the biggest problem is that they walk out of his range, or he walks out of the range of ranged units doing damage, right? So maybe if he just had a really big aura, or if he just completely covered the whole field, that would be way better. I don't really think that there's a special way that we could make him any stronger. That's pretty basic way of making him better, is just making it, instead of an aura, it's an entire board-wide effect. I think would make him a lot better. Our next card is going to be Classy, which is an absolutely terrible card. The 5 cost is way too much for the low amount of health that this character has. Her ability when she gets enraged is really slow. I think maybe if she was to stay the same speed of enrage, like range while people are attacking her, if she got healed above her enraged, she should not have to do her animation again. I don't know if that's even possible for them to be able to do that, but just triggering her enrage one time, then allow your people to be able to heal her up one way or another, and then allow her to continue to keep doing the extra damage. Now, other ways that you could fix this card would be maybe just dropping it down to 4 cost, because in the 5 cost zone she is way too expensive. But 4 cost probably would make more sense for the health and attack. Again, if we just lower the cost, I still think that her enrage ability is way too long. So if they like cut her enrage ability right in half, leave her the same attack speed, walk speed, health speed, health speed, health. If you leave it all the same, just lower her attack, or leave all those the same. Lower her energy to 4 and double her enrage speed. If the Red Lynx is not able to lower her cost, then she needs a massive amount of health boost. The attack, the speed of the enrage can stay exactly the same, but this card needs to have like 1.5 times more health, or maybe double the health, right? The more health, the more options. The way I see it is, the more options you give people to use tanks, and this is a fighter, I know, I see it's a fighter, but it's 5 energy. When I look at a 5 energy card, I'm like, is it a tank or is it not? Because if it's not a tank, then that 5 energy really doesn't go good for me. So yeah, I do think she needs way more health, faster enrage, or some other things, right? So we got that chickadee check it out. Next one's gonna be Officer Barbrady. Oh my goodness, this card used to be pretty good back in the day when there wasn't a lot of big units on the field. Now that like Mackey and legendaries are stronger, Officer Barbrady used to have his purpose of being just a really big fat tank on the field, and he still does have a lot of health, probably not the greatest amount of attack, so maybe he could use a little bit of a buff on his attack, just a little bit. Now what I think the 2 biggest things that you could do to fix this card would be to just drop his cost to 5, because we all know the 6 cost comes with needing to use Pope Timmy, or you are constantly going to lose energy advantage against your opponent if they use Unholy Combustion or Transmogrification, right? So if he's a 5 cost, he doesn't require you having to play Mystical, right? You can play him in any deck combination. The other thing would be to increase the range of his Death Wish. If his Death Wish was like 1.5 times bigger or something of that nature, he would be more likely to blow up and hit the new kid, the opponent new kid. He'd be more likely to blow up the units that just killed him, because a lot of the time they kill him and then they run away and then nobody gets blown up whatsoever. So you could keep the same speed of how long it takes for him to throw the grenade around and then blow up, but just increase the size of the radius. His health is already good, so he could probably use more attack, lower health, more attack, a lower energy cost, and a bigger blast radius. I think those are the big things that would make Officer Barbrady for sure. So up next, we're going to be going into adventure. It's going to be Calamity Heidi. This card used to be really good. It used to be one of the top cards in the game because of it being a 2-cost fighter that was kind of tanky versus all the other assassins. Now that people aren't really running assassins as much, she still has her purpose in being a 2-cost card. But what I find the problem is she doesn't have an ability. She's smart and she's funny. Okay, but come on. Can she not have an ability? I think that every card in the game should have an ability. Like, they should do something when they hit the field. They don't have to have a charged ability. They don't have to have a war card. They could just have something. And what do I think that she could use? I'm not really, to be honest, sure. I hadn't really given it a lot of thought for Calamity Heidi. I think maybe she's got bottles in her hand, so maybe she stacks bleed. Like, she hits them, and then it does like a little bit of damage over time after she hits them, and it stacks up to, like, again, another stacking character. She hits them 3 times, so they're stacked 3 times the bleeding potential on them. She could also have like a bonus similar to the Coon, where Calamity Heidi, if she's on the field at the same time as any other Cartman on the field is, she can become stronger, like more attack and more health boosted whenever they're on the field at the same time. Now, I know they're not really together now, spoiler alert, but you can kind of see they still were together in this picture, right? To an extent. Yeah, I think just maybe giving her some sort of ability. I don't really know quite what. Maybe if you guys have an idea of what Calamity Heidi's ability could be, you could let me know in the comments down below. I wanted to think this through a lot more, but I was letting way too much time go by not making this video. So up next is going to be Bandita Sally. This is again another card that I feel like it just deserves to have an ability. Every assassin in the game has a death wish. Pretty sure every assassin has a death wish. So she deserves a death wish. What is it? What is that death wish? I'm not sure. I think maybe she could mark the targets. Like the same thing with Calamity Heidi, except it's not stacks. But like when a unit kills Bandita Sally, they are marked with her cuts. So maybe they take increased damage after they have killed her. I mean, it seems kind of reasonable, something like that. I'm not really thinking about stat-wise for her. It's fine. She's one of the weaker assassins, but it's all the commons just don't have as much attack and health as epic assassins, right? So, I mean, she probably could use an attack and health buff, right? Probably, maybe, probably not. I think it just needs an ability. I think that's all she needs, is just an ability. Something to mark the enemy to where they take more damage after she's been killed. Any death wish. 5 seconds, 10 seconds long, I'm not sure. But any death wish would be good. Here we have a huge, probably the #1 recommended card to get a buff in the game. This card used to be good during the poison meta, right? And this, it's one of those kind of cards that does only good if whatever it counters is in the meta or mostly played, right? So maybe at lower levels they might see poison more often, or Alien Queen Red. Alien Queen Red is really good, but poison is not very good. So like the main thing, it says it removes negative effects from all allies. I think they should just straight up change it to where it removes all negative effects from allies and all positive effects from enemies. So it should hit everybody on the field with their ability. It should be able to remove Youth Pastor Craig's ability where he silences the new kid. So the new kid is affected by his ability too, right? remove silence, remove poisons. The mind control thing is kind of weird because I think when a unit gets mind controlled, it's an enemy, so Shaman can't fix their mind control unless he himself is mind controlled. Then he can fix his own mind control, which is your opponent doing the wrong thing at that point. But why would you mind control Shaman token? I don't know. I'm just saying. So yeah, a big, just purify everything. Get rid of all the advantage your opponent has. Get rid of all of the disadvantages that you have. I think, and then getting rid of Youth Pastor Craig's ability would also be really good. He probably needs buffs in attack and health too, since he's a common card. 3 cost, he probably just straight up should just be a 2 cost unit too. But they already have Heidi in... Well, I mean, I guess they could have another 2 cost unit, right? So I think if he has the 2 cost unit, and you don't change his attack and stats, and then you fix his ability so that he can get rid of opponents' buffs. He should be able to get rid of buffs. He should be able to get rid of negatives effects on allies, right? So I think if that he could do that, he could counter, you know, Ninju giving everybody 104 extra attack. He could just poof, and then all that attack is gone, and then you've got a body on the field and whatever, you know. It won't make him amazing card, but you know, it would give him more viability at any point in time, and then maybe make his power charge time way lower, like 6 seconds. Make it to where he hits the field, and boom, he can fix the problems. Like, you already see the problem on the field, then you put Shaman token down, and then you can fix it. Not, you have to have Shaman token down, then they already do these things, and then you can fix it. No, that's not... It's not fast enough, right? He needs to be faster. Or, you know what? Get rid of his charged ability. Just straight up get rid of his charged ability and make it a war cry. So as soon as he hits the field, all negative effects are removed and all buffed effects on your enemy are removed immediately. And then you can leave him at a 3 cost and leave him with everything else. And that would actually fix him perfectly. He would be, boom, right on the field. Fix everything on the field, you know what I'm saying? It'd be great. Next card is going to be Sheriff Cartman. Compared to any and all of the other Cartmans, this is absolutely the worst Cartman imaginable. His biggest reason is his health. He needs to be a freaking tank like Zen Cartman. Zen Cartman is a 3 cost, and Sheriff Cartman's a 4 cost. Now, yes, Sheriff Cartman attacks. Sheriff Cartman has an attack ability that hits around him. It's a very weak ability. It's actually, Sheriff's Cartman ability is meant for the old meta over a year ago, because his ability would be strong enough that it could kill rats, and it could almost kill assassins or whatever. Now he just can't do the damage with his damage ability, which is fine. If they leave his damage ability the same, it's fine. His attack is the same, it's fine. I just think that he needs to be way more tanky. He's a tank. He's a 4 cost versus the 3 cost Zen Cartman. I 100% believe he should have, even though he attacks, he should have more health than Zen Cartman. You would see a lot less people running Zen Cartman and see a lot more people running Sheriff Cartman, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's a variety hour. However, at the current state of the game, if you're not playing an epic or legendary Cartman, there's only one option, and it's Zen Cartman. So Sheriff Cartman needs a health buff. He could have a buff on his attack and then his ability. Mainly his ability. I think you just leave his attack fine, raise the damage of his ability, and increase his health dramatically. He would be a very good staple of the cards in the game. You know what I'm saying? You see him very much more often. I think it would be really awesome. He actually has, I'm pretty sure last time I checked, he has the fastest attack in the game. Faster than any assassin, than any Pocahontas Randy. But you don't ever see this or notice because nobody runs him and his attack is really low. So it's kind of hard to notice. But again, I think he could definitely be a good card if they wanted him to be. You know what I mean? So our next is going to be in the sci-fi. We have Gizmo Ike. They have buffed this card a bunch of different times and it has not done anything. Why? Because they have left one of the biggest problems that Gizmo Ike has. every time he makes a clone of himself, that clone has half the attack and half the health that the original one had. So whenever you make a clone, and then that clone makes another clone, that one has 50% of the clone's ability, which means that they have the only 2 generations from Gizmo Ike, and they only have 25% health and attack, which I think it doesn't go any lower than that once you get to that point. But I think that degrade is way too quickly. I think maybe they could make him walk a little bit slower and then make it... See, it says splits into 2 Gizmo Ikes. It's kind of weird because it makes you think he's going to make 2 more, but he splits into 2, so he's spawning 1, but he is splitting it himself into 2. I think if he walked a little bit quicker, or slower, and instead of decreasing the attack, or the attack and the health by 25%, or 50%, my bad, it should just be 25%. So the second generation is only 50% of the attack and defense. So you just have more health and more attack average on his spawns. He'll still get killed in general from all of the splash AoE damages and whatnot, but I just feel like the Gizmo Ikes, once they make it so far, the new kid zapper just and they're gone. There's nothing there to do anything. So I think slower walk speed and not as much of a decrease in stats. Every clone is 50% weaker, so it should be every clone is 25% weaker, and then that would make him a lot better. The 3 cost is fine also. So next we have Marine Craig, which is very much weaker than his brother Incan Craig, which happens to be getting nerfed tomorrow from the day I'm making this video. This card, what can I say? It has had some changes. I think he had some changes to where he did less damage versus the enemy leader, but more damage versus units around him, around where the splash damage is. I think two things that you could do with this card. Well, first of all, I mean, there's quite a few different things actually, but if we could just drop his down to 3 cost, he could probably do a lot better, and then you might not even need to change anything. But I feel like, anytime that you say that a card could just be lower cost and it's better is kind of lazy, right? So, but it is a possibility of a good change for him, making it easier to be able to rotate him in your battles, because he's definitely not worth 4 cost. Okay, so what I think he needs to be able to do, okay, his power range, when he hits the new kid and it splashes around it, that power range could be higher. I think that's one thing that they already increased before. One thing that they don't show, like, okay, when you're using Incan Craig, you got him on the field, and you can see the laser across the field, and you can see which units you're hitting. When you put Marine Craig on the field and you don't let go of him, you're like about to summon him, you can't see a circle around the new kid to know who you're gonna hit, because you might want to wait as long as possible to attack in case you can hit more units, and you don't want them to walk out of the range of the attack. So if they could show the circle of damage area around the new kid, that would be really nice quality of life. It doesn't necessarily buff him, it just makes it easier for you to make a good decision of when to let go and shoot it out, right? Now, the poison against units feels really weak, so if they were to increase the poison versus units around him, that would be a lot better. The damage to the leader can stay the same or whatever. I do think maybe he could use more attack damage, or maybe just a faster attack damage. He does have kind of like a machine gun, and it does seem like, I don't play him a lot, right, so it's kind of hard for me to remember for sure. But it does seem like he has a pretty normal attack, so he could have a little bit faster attack to go along with his little machine gun. He's a Marine Craig, right? And then a crazy idea that I seen somebody mention on Reddit months ago is that he has an ability like Incan Craig's. Basically shoots poison beam across the map, so every unit in his beam of poison is going to get damaged, and then it hits the new kid. and it could probably not have as big as a power range around the new kid, but it could still do damage around the new kid, theoretically, right? He could have a really bigger, much bigger laser beam width than Ink and Craig, but have the exact same abilities Ink and Craig. You just poison it. You have the more potential to poison way more units with his ability, and then you're still doing the direct damage to the new kid. So I think if he had Ink and Craig's ability, but it was poison and it was damage over time, he would be a very good card. Maybe not the best card, maybe not as good as Inkin, obviously, because Inkin is instant damage, Marine Craig's poison over time, right? So it could always be balanced on how much damage they're doing. But I think more damage to just the normal, not doing anything crazy, just lower his cost by 1, increasing the damage that he does to units around the new kid, and he would be a lot better. So we have next, it's going to be Scout Ike. This is one of the most brand new cards, and currently just not cutting it. I think it should just be another lazy suggestion here, just being that it'd be 2 cost. Now I know he gains 1 energy from being on the field, so then it would immediately make him a 1 cost assassin, basically. And there is no 1 cost assassin in the game, so he could be the cheapest assassin in the game possible. And technically, if he was able to get his charge off twice, he would be a 0 cost assassin. The most effective assassin energy-wise, even if he doesn't kill anybody, if he can just use his ability 1 time, right? He would be pretty energy effective. I don't really know his attack and health. I wouldn't really mess with that stuff too much. I just think that maybe he just needs to be a 2 cost less, and probably walk slower, because he actually does walk really fast. So maybe you leave him at the 3, but lower his walk speed a lot would be really good for him, I think. Up next, we've got Poseidon Stan, who has never really been a good card. Even during the common meta, he wasn't the greatest. People still played him, but he just didn't have a really great ability. His ability takes a really long time to activate, so if they could speed up his time to activate his ability, it would be really good. Duration could maybe be a little bit longer. The slow seems like it's fine as it is. I think that maybe he could amplify damage to people. Another card that could have that ability, like every unit he hits with his slow gets slowed and has amplified damage stacked onto them. Just to give him something extra to be able to compete with all the other stands, because all the other stands generally are way better than him. And I mean, program stands a little better, mostly because of stats being a common versus an epic card. But I think he probably just needs his ability to be quicker, for sure. They could make his walk speed a lot slower too, so he's more likely to affect the field and not really be affected until he can hit anybody else with it. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that I can think you could do about that. And then the amplifying damage maybe, but that doesn't even exist in this game currently. Let's see here. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot that I could say about this card. Maybe he just needs to be a 2 cost card. That might help him out a lot too, for sure. And then Cupid Cartman. Here we go. Cupid Cartman could be a good card. I think what he needs most, more than anything, he's flying tiny unit. When you hit him, he bounces really far away. I think all he needs is a lot more attack. He literally needs to be the assassin of the sky. He needs to have fast attack and high damage to where he can DPS as good as visitors. Right now, visitors are really good for their 3 cost. So I think Cupid Cartman just needs a big upgrade in an attack to make him more of an assassin flying ranged unit, and it would be really good, I think. I think that's what it comes down to. He could even, you know what I mean, you could even use him as a semi headhunter if he's fast enough to fly in there and high enough damage to be able to hit the new kid to surprise somebody. I think that's pretty much it for him. If you do that, he would just be really viable for sure. An Assassin of the Sky and ranged unit, 100% greatness. Alright, we're on Fantasy now, and that is going to be Dark Mage Craig. We've got 2 Craigs on the list. Can you believe it? I can believe it. Dark Mage Craig's ability to do AoE damage when he hits, and his Warcry halves the attack of nearby leader and nearby enemies for 7 seconds. So he's a lot more of an offensive unit, because units have to be spawned near the new kid for him to hit them with his ability, and then it only lasts for 7 seconds. So what can we do to fix this card? 100% he needs to have longer range. If he has longer range, not as long as Nathan, but just long enough range, like Amazingly Randy, I guess, is probably one of the longer range units. But you could even just say Blood Elf Bebe's range. Basically just so that he's farther enough away so he can actually live long enough to do his AoE damage. I also think that his decrease in damage should be doubled. That should be 14 or 15 seconds long of a time that they're lowered their attack, because it doesn't really lower their attack a lot. It could look, or it says halves the attack, so let me get that straight. Halves the attack is actually a pretty good amount, right? But it doesn't last long enough, especially if you're on the defense. Which, when you go to use his Warcry, when you spawn him, it takes forever. So there's a really good chance that the people will walk out of his area. So he has the same problem as Marine Craig, where when you put him onto the field before you summon him, you should be able to see a circle around the new kid and know who's affected by his ability, whether you want to use it or not. But the 3 cost is fine, as long as he can, maybe if he could just do more damage too. Do a little bit longer range and a little bit more damage, then his AoE would be much more effective. I think his attack speed seems fine, and health is fine. He's a ranged unit. It's whatever about that one. Yep, and the power duration definitely needs to be longer. So I think that would definitely fix him and make him a lot better. Longer range, longer ability time, maybe a large, much larger power range. When he hits the new kid, it could hit way more units. Because, like, it says power range is 2, so he has a 0.5 less power range than Marine Craig. They should have the same, or Dark Mage Craig should have more, I think. For sure. Next card is going to be Robin Tweek with a 4 cost. Warcry ability gives a random ally a big health boost. This is one of those characters where he is not really that great, because it's all about his max HP boost. So he boosts up the one card everybody uses it for, Canadian Night Ike. By boosting up Canadian Night Ike's health, it gives him more time to be able to use his ability to heal. The max HP boost for this character probably needs to be even more higher than it is. It's, I don't know how much it is at level 6, right? And we're looking at level 4 base. Maybe it is a lot. I think he probably just needs to have a longer range and more attack, because he's a 4 cost unit. They have buffed him before, but it was really minor. So I don't really think that was enough. His range is fine. Yeah, so I think maybe just making his ability boost larger. If you don't change his HP boost, just make him a 3 cost unit. Just make him a 3 cost unit, and I think he would be fine. Either increase his max HP boost and attack, or lower his cost to 3, and then he would be a much more viable card. Yep. And so the next 2 cards that we're going to be talking about, those are pretty much the main cards that I wanted to talk about today, about being the worst cards possible. There's 2 cards. I'm not going to go into a lot of discussion about these, because it's obvious that they're going to get buffed. Super obvious, should I say. Those cards are going to be Mysterion and Call Girl. Both of these cards are intentionally not good right now, so that in the future they can buff these cards and make them meta, for sure. So I'm not going to talk about them very much because they are going to be buffed no matter what. This card, I think it should just be a 4 cost, like Inuit Kinney. Inuit Kinney already is a super risky card to make it work effectively. And so that card could technically be lowered, but it's fine as it is. And Mysterion, I think he needs to sit right there with him at the 4 cost. 5 cost for an assassin that, yes, it can revive continuously for an extremely long time and get that energy value out of him. But I just think that it should be 4 cost. At 4 cost, leave everything else the same. It's fine. With this card, she has really low attack. She has low health. The thing about her is that as soon as they release a brand new superhero card that is like a 5 or 6 or 7 energy card, Call Girl is going to immediately be really good, okay? And it doesn't even matter about her stats directly, because it's all about whatever card she can summon for free, right? So, lower her cost to 6, raise her attack at least double, and then don't do anything else. That's probably what they're gonna do. They might raise her health too, but I would say don't raise her health because she's gonna be reviving other units that are not reviving. She's gonna be spawning other units that are gonna be way more tanky or way more damage or whatever it is. She's going to be getting buffed considerably. It's gonna be like one of those things they call it a creep power creep. There we go. Where you won't really notice that she gets good until everything else is all of a sudden really good. It just makes a really big combo. But alright guys, that is going to be it for the cards that I think need to have buffs and what I think could make them better. If you guys have any ideas to add into these cards to what could make them better, or if you have any ideas of other cards that need to get buffed, let me know in the comments down below. I was going to put Shelly on this list, I was going to put Pigeons on this list, and Witch Garrison, but they've buffed all those cards. Alien Drone even got buffed at some point in time. We don't really know for sure yet if the Shelly buff is actually going to be good, but the Witch Garrison buff is really good. Pigeons are debatable, but they could be really good also. So, because I thought the biggest problem with Pigeons was that their movement speed wasn't fast enough, and they did increase their movement speed. Because when you're trying to peck at people, peck at units that are on the ground, they just keep walking away from you, and you have to peck and then fly, and then peck and then fly. But now it'll be more peck, fly, peck, fly, peck, fly, peck, fly. It'll be a lot better, for sure. So yeah, guys, let me know if you guys have any more ideas for cards that need to be buffed, or yeah, buffed for sure. I almost said nerfed. That is everything that I've got. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to join the Haze Demon Show Discord for those direct notifications when we go live anytime and every time. But that's going to be it, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to bring a towel. Peace out.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
Shut up, Mimsy!